You know that feeling when you click Add to Cart on a gaming laptop that looks like a monster on the product page, only to find it's more of a paperweight once you actually fire up your favorite titles? I've seen it happen over and over: sleek designs, crazy fast specs, but then the heat spikes, the battery dies in an hour, or the frame starts wobbling after a few weeks. I'm trying to help you avoid that disappointment, so I dug into the real-world experience of the Acer Predator Helios 300 PH3155460S before hitting record. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Helios 300 lands in the sweet spot between the budget-friendly starter laptops and the premium rigs that cost as much as a desktop tower. It's built around an 11th Gen Intel i7-11800H and an RTX 3060, which, on paper, promises you can hit 1080p high settings in most modern games. In practice, I ran a few of the games I actually own: Cyberpunk 2077 Valorant, and Elden Ring, and the laptop held 60 frames per second or higher on medium to high settings without stuttering. What matters more than the raw numbers is that the 144Hz IPS panel actually shows you that fluid motion. In a fast-paced shooter like Valorant, that 3 milliseconds response time translates into a noticeably smoother crosshair track, which can be the difference between a clutch win and a frustrating loss. But the performance story has a hidden chapter: the cooling system. Acer markets cooling perfected, and indeed the dual-fan setup with vapor chamber technology does a decent job of keeping the GPU temps under 80 C during a 30-minute Elden Ring session. The fan noise, however, ramps up to a noticeable whine once you push past 70 C. If you plan to stream or game in a shared bedroom, that hum can be a distraction. The trade-off here is that the laptop stays thin, 15.6 inches at just under 5 pounds, so you don't get the massive heatsinks you'd find in a bulkier workstation. For many gamers, the acoustic compromise is acceptable for the portable form factor, but it's something to weigh. Battery life is another practical angle. The Helios 300 ships with a 57Wh cell, which is respectable for a machine of this power. In my own daily routine, checking Discord, editing a quick video, then jumping into a 20-minute Fortnite match, the laptop lasted about 4 hours before the charger was needed. If you expect to game on the go without plugging in, you'll probably need a power bank or an external charger, which isn't ideal. That said, the Wi-Fi 6 module lives up to the killer branding, delivering a rock-steady connection even in a crowded apartment building. I noticed near-zero lag while streaming from a nearby router, which is a genuine plus for competitive play. Storage and memory feel less like buzzwords and more like usable space. The 16 GB of DDR4 RAM is split across 2 channels, giving you decent multitasking bandwidth. Run a game, Discord, and a web browser, and you won't hit any bottlenecks. The 512 GB NVMe SSD loads Cyberpunk in under 10 seconds and leaves enough room for a few large titles, but you'll likely need an external drive or upgrade if you keep a library of AAA games. The good news is that the SSD is user replaceable. You can pop open the bottom panel and add a second drive without voiding anything, which is a nice nod to future-proofing. Now, who should actually consider buying this laptop? If you're a college student who wants a machine that can handle both coursework and weekend raids, the Helios 300 hits the mark. The keyboard's perky RGB isn't just for show, it lets you set a custom profile for your favorite games, and the travel distance is satisfying enough for long sessions. The laptop also fits nicely into cramped dorm rooms thanks to its modest footprint. On the other hand, if you're a professional content creator who relies on heavy rendering or needs a 4K display for color-critical work, you'll find the 1080p panel limiting and the GPU a step down from the RTX 3070 class cards that power smoother render times. Likewise, anyone who demands near-silent operation or ultra-long battery life should look elsewhere. One practical weakness that shows up after a few weeks is the chassis flex. The middle of the palm rest gives a slight give when you rest your hands, which can feel odd if you're used to a solid metal feel. It isn't a structural failure, just a plastic flex that can make the laptop feel less premium over time. The other minor gripe is the lack of a dedicated Thunderbolt 4 port, you get USB-C, but you'll need an adapter for high-speed external GPUs or docks. That limits expansion options.